calling to order this regular meeting of the Carrabelle Community Redevelopment Agency. It's Tuesday, October the 20th, 2020. 1:30 p.m. We're conducting this meeting at the Carrabelle City Hall Chambers. And our meeting will open with a prayer by Commissioner Allen, and then I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand.
Our Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we have this day and time before us. We ask you to be with us and give us the wisdom we need to make the proper decisions that would be best for this community and for the future and growth of our lovely city. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Courtney, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back, everyone. This is the first time we're meeting back with our CRA meeting in person in a long time. We've got a couple of missing folks, but let's see, we have Commissioner Tony Millender and Commissioner Frank Mathis are missing, and Commissioner Keith Walden has resigned. But we have Ms. Sabrina Brown. She's an appointed member. And this is the first time we've met in person in this meeting. I mean, conducted meetings. We've met before. Myself and Commissioner Cal Allen and appointee member Bo May. All right. And so may we have approval of the September 15th minutes?
I'll move to approve.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. All right, this is the public comment section of the meeting, and if there's any public comment regarding any other community redevelopment agency items that would concern the community redevelopment agency, items that are not on the agenda today. If there's any public comment. Any public comment? All right then, staff reports, Ms. Courtney.
I just wanted to report that on our facade grant, we've given out 3 applications, and I have 2 other people that are interested, but they haven't picked up an application yet.
All right. And then how about
our expansion?
Yes,
on the
survey.
expansion, we voted to go ahead and order a survey, and I have ordered that survey with Dermot Roddenberry. It hasn't been completed yet, but he is working on that.
Thank you. Do you all have any questions for Ms. Courtney? Board members? Okay, Mr. Hartman, do you have a report for us today?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we will move to new business, item 1. And I had originally, I just discussed with Mr. Hartman on amending the agenda to move this item to last on the agenda until we could wait for Commissioner Millender to arrive. And I'm understanding from Mr. Hartman that Commissioner Millender has recused himself from this item because his son is employed with one of the bidders. So we'll move forward. Discussion of possible action to award landscape bid, and this is the bid in reference to the CRA District landscaping and maintenance contract. And so I'll ask Mr. Hartman first to describe the guidelines that the board must go by to award bids.
Okay, and certainly I can answer specific questions as they come up, but we are covered by Florida statutes as well as which sets forth basically that we had an advertisement in this. We're bound to follow the procedures set forth in the advertisement. There was a scope or bid specifications and conditions that were provided, and I know that Courtney at the bid opening, she has provided you with copies of those bids, and it's obviously your all's job to review those bids, determine compliance with the conditions and specifications that that bid by each bidder. And Courtney, I'm sure she's pointed out some things in the different bids that for consideration on that. And then when it comes to selecting a bidder, we are bound by under the same standard as the city, as the agency that established the CRA. And what we would do is it would be up to you all to select the lowest responsible bidder. And responsible means really responsive, so that they comply with again, the conditions and specifications of the bid.
Okay, and so then you told me earlier today that the bid process should be treated like any other, and the CRA really hasn't entertained a competitive bid process like this, to the best I can remember, since we reassembled back in early 14, late 13. We have had a bid process, but we had only one bidder in the past, so it wasn't competitive. Now, the way that the bid process is treated on the city side is that the bids are opened in advance with the staff and with the bidders present, announced, advertised in the newspaper, just as this one was advertised in the newspaper for October the 7th. Then those bids are reviewed by the administrator and by the engineer, and they make a recommendation. That is how we normally do it.
Okay, and I have witnessed, obviously, many a city bid opening, and I know that we've had committees before, and then other times, Courtney simply announces what the bids were, and obviously would inform the commission or this board who the lowest bidder was, and I believe she's prepared to do that today. And certainly point out any issues as you saw them with compliance with specs.
After Ms. Courtney can announce the lowest bidder.
We had 2 bids received. We had a bid from Ray and Kyle's Lawn Service. We also had a bid from Weekend Warriors Lawn Service, LLC. The low bid was Ray and Kyle's Land Service. Find it again. $16,250. That's a 6-month contract.
Okay.
I did see a couple of issues. I did see that Ray and Kyle's Land Service did not have their certificate of liability, but they had their automobile insurance. Weekend Warriors had their certificate of liability, but no automobile insurance. But it does point out on the specifications package on page 5 that at the time of bid award that they have 15 days to submit anything that's not submitted.
Okay. All right. So, thank you. Is there anything else at this point? Do you all have
Courtney, what
questions?
was the amount?
The other bid, for Weekend Warriors was at $18,600.
Okay.
$18,600.
All right, so then we can look over each bid here individually. And the bid, the goal here is to bring the district landscaping back up to the standards that it had been maintained over the first several years after this project was developed. And it's to clean up all litter, remove all litter, debris, dead landscaping materials, sand from streets, clean up the sidewalks, clean up our parks, and mow, and that's to include all the public areas outlined in the specifications packet. A spraying of herbicide to bring up areas such as the Southeast Avenue C Park area, and the 4th Street boat ramp where needed, and spray herbicide in all the landscape areas. Apply fertilizer when it's required a couple of times a year. I was just over to the 12th Street pier area, and that area is in a bad way, and it needs trimming and blowing and cleaning and cutting back, and that area has not been taken care of for quite some time. So, and in fact, I've got a couple of pictures here of the Southeast Avenue C area that we did pay money to have landscaped, and it hasn't been maintained since day one, and then the boat ramp. So you want to take a look, and then we'll make sure that that's what we expect. You know, that's what I expect anyway. So in order, alphabetical order, let's take a look at Ray and Kyle's lawn service. And do y'all need a copy of that? Does everyone have a copy? Okay, they don't have a copy. Do you
And
have?
just a matter of procedure, because I know Board Member Milner wasn't here at the very beginning, is we communicated yesterday, and it was my recommendation that he abstain from this, voting on this item, and submit the memorandum of Form 8B due to his son working part-time from time to time with one of the bidders, Chip.
Can these pictures be shown to the bidders so that they know what we're expecting our areas to look like?
Sure, and if you have any questions for them, obviously.
Okay. And the welcome park too, I haven't had a chance to walk the welcome park, but I can tell you that all of our landscaped areas have not been weeded or dead plants removed. It's been let go. So on the Ray and Kyle's lawn service, and that is owned by Ray Messer. We have their bid was $16,250 for a we'll wait till Commissioner Miller sits down.
Just sharing the picture.
Okay. Okay, so their bid was for $16,250 for a 6-month contract, proof of insurance, and their proof of insurance is a vehicle that's insured for the primary drivers, Ms. Sheila Messer, and it's insured to drive 4 miles one way, so 8 miles a day to work and school. So would this be the vehicle that you would be using in your landscape?
Yeah, but somehow that got mixed up, and that's mine, and that's my truck. She just, the insurance, when we run that off, she give me that copy, but the insurance in my name.
Okay, let me ask Mr. Hartman then, so this is kind of a conflict, and also he's not showing liability, but if awarded, he has 15 days
Right.
to bring
Right,
it.
he would have 15 days to get his insurance in line.
Okay, all right.
To, really, Courtney would review that.
You say 50?
15 days.
15.
That for both.
If that one's problematic, then it would be for both. It's both liability and vehicle.
And then for, should we have Mr. Messer come to the podium so we can, that would be more formal? And I have some questions, and you have some questions as well, Mr. Mack?
I will, since there's no really references that I've seen,
Okay.
so we need to talk, they need to talk.
Yeah, that's right, and we want to make sure that whoever's awarded, that they're financially able to fund not only their equipment, but their insurances and the fertilizer applications that are required, and the herbicide applications and that type of thing that's included in the bid specs. And we do see that Mr. Messer has filed his articles of organization back on 6/18/2020, directly after we announced this opportunity would be available. And that's it. I don't see any real, and you say you've been in business 3 years, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so my questions would be, do you have a city occupational license at this time?
I got an LLC.
Okay, but do you have?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Are you aware of the CRA back district, the boundaries of the
Yes.
CRA? Okay, you've seen a CRA map?
No, ma'am, but
Okay. Okay, and that's okay. And you feel like you are capable of bringing the areas up to what we consider standard acceptable landscaping?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then, how will you intend to remove the debris in the litter? How will you be picking that up at least once a week? What will be your procedure?
In my truck, trailer,
Okay, so.
or whatever way I need to. I mean,
Okay, all right.
if I need a golf cart, I can put like the other guy had, you know,
Do
whatever.
you have a golf cart?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Is it street legal?
Well, yeah.
I mean, does
It's
it
got a
have,
headlights and all.
does it have a VIN number, rear view mirrors, tag? Is it registered with
Oh, no,
DMV?
no.
Okay, so that wouldn't, if it's not street legal, we can't take that out.
I'm
of
using my truck
of
trailer.
DOT.
It's
Okay,
straight legal.
all right, very good. Yeah, truck should be street legal. All right, let me see if I had any other questions for the other bidder, because we want to make sure we ask the same questions. Okay, thank you.
You
All right,
welcome.
what, Mr. Bo
Anybody?
has questions, Bo Mag.
Will you be by yourself?
Yeah, most of the time, but then I've got help. I got my grandson, he helps. And then if I need help, I got a son and a son-in-law.
Do you have an idea of how many hours a week?
However many it takes to get the job done. I really don't know. I haven't done it.
And you haven't really gone over the CRA boundaries, so you don't,
From
in a
the,
sense, you don't.
from the bridge to the old dollar store, from the pavilion to
Okay.
Main Street, the boat ramp, and then the park across from, where the Queen of Queens, old Queen of Queens used to
You
be.
know all that,
Yeah,
places where you,
And the 12th Street Pier,
down where, it gets landed.
and Northwest Avenue D.
I'm not sure of that one, but
Okay.
behind that, yeah. Oh, okay.
And then, up behind Wicked Willie's, what's that called, Howard Street back there? Goes behind Wicked Willie's.
Right.
The alleyway between the, Carrabelle History Museum, that alleyway that's behind the pharmacy, an alleyway between, Ganders and Carrabelle Junction, you know,
Right.
all up around in there, Meridian. Okay,
it's a lot of work. You know, I'm not saying that
Right.
you're not doing a lot of work, but it is just I don't know exactly what happened to the last contract, but it slowly wound down to where, I don't know what percentage, but a significant percentage of the work is not being
Done.
taken care of.
Right.
And it, I never found that out, I don't know. I just know to do the job is gonna take a lot of time, and probably, I can't see one person do it.
Right.
Just cause it's, I don't know, it's a lot.
Well, I got help if I need it,
Yeah.
you know. If I need help, I've got help. But I've got time to do it too.
We don't want you to have to pay for doing the job.
All I say is give me a shot at it. If I don't do it, 6 months later, hire somebody else. That's
So I know that's.
about as good as I can say it.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
That's it?
that's really my concerns is the combination of sprinkler system care, of landscaping, street cleaning, the plots, what I like to call plants that came from Curly's garden. I refer to that in front of my building. I don't think that's been looked at in 2 years, except for what I've done. And it's like, and I've always done the mulch because it didn't show up. So I would do my own mulch. And I mean, I'm just out here tending Curly's garden. It's city property.
Right.
I'm glad to have it in front of the building. But if I'm gonna take care of it, I would wanna have a different, some say in what kind of landscaping it was, and I'd simplify it, you know, down to 2 plants.
Right.
And a bed of rocks, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
It's pretty good. The landscaping part of it is intricate in a lot of ways. It's not consistent up and down the 98.
Right.
And that's just the 98 run, not all these others. That's all, I'm just want it to be right.
Right.
That's, I'm just, it's been not right for a while.
For at least 2 years, and that's what I want it to be right.
And I'm just concerned, I don't know.
Well, question on one thing is who picks the CRA district? Do they pick the plants that, you know, you put in them, in the beds, you know, like in front of the old, your place?
Those things have, you know, a lot of that went back to the initial planning that really was put in when the sidewalks got finished, the new sidewalks.
Yes.
And those things preceded the CRA, I believe.
When the beautification came through here, was that like in 10 or 11 or something? The DOT did that beautification.
Right.
And in the best of my knowledge, in the specifications, the CRA purchases the mulch and then any new plantings. And in the past, the plantings, if we needed, were suggested by the landscaper that we had. Some good many rose bushes were put in, and they were kept up real nice, and then got deteriorated.
The weeds got them. And then in front of the building there on the corner,
Right.
in front of the old swine building, those big lily plants, you know, got to be 6-7 feet tall, and you couldn't see around
Right.
the corner, so, you know, Courtney had that stuff cut back to size, and I don't think I have a single one of those in the front now. You put in a lot of rosemary. Is that right? Rosemary?
Thyme.
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
Oh, rosemary.
Yeah, because it's an indigenous kind of plant, and it grows, it doesn't get too big. There's one by the police station that got big
All right.
I'm a cheerleader.
All right.
Ms. Sabrina, do you have any questions at this moment? Okay, Mr. Commissioner Allen?
How long have you lived in Carrabelle?
62 years.
Now, be sure to ask that question.
How old are you?
62.
Ask that
Get a little
question
bit.
together
So
better
that
now.
matches.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Any questions by staff or anything like that? Mr. Hartman?
No questions.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Mel Kelly?
I'm sorry if I missed the answer. I know you asked about insurance on the vehicle. Is Mr. Messer insured himself?
No, he will get his vehicle and liability insurance up to 1 million, I believe it is. After the bid is awarded, the contract says they have 15 days to bring their, those insurance matters
So
in
that's-
compliance.
That's insurance on him, not just his vehicles.
That would be liability insurance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That's two separate policies, okay.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
All right. Then we will move to Weekend Warriors Lawn Service. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Who signed it? William Chipman.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Brenda.
Nice
We
to meet
haven't met before. Brenda LaPaz, nice to see you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just gonna look through your application here. And overall, how long have you been in the lawn service business?
Almost 2 years I've been doing it. I started out doing it part-time, and, right here recently I lost my job. For 16 years I was in the medical field, and I got laid off back in June 30th. And I've been doing it full-time since then.
Okay. And then on the references, you said, it said see or experience, see attached, see references, and you have offered 7 references, and 3 of them are businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you all have, I think you two have that on your screen, you can see that. But he's got, there's references that he provided. And your bid was for $18,600 for the 6-month period. And then, do you have a city occupational license?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay. And then, are you aware of the CRA district boundaries, although we kind of just briefly reviewed it?
Yes, ma'am. I've looked at the map and I've made a round of it. I mean, I'm sure I don't know every little nick and cranny of it because I've never done it, but I'm familiar with some, you know, most of it.
But you did see a map, you have a map of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
CRA district.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And all of the things that I removed, weed removal, plant and bush trimming, dead plant removal, and edging and mowing and blowing, applying mulch and fertilizer and herbicide, removing debris and litter from all the areas, the public areas, debris and litter from every street and alley. And then, as Mr. Bo May, I neglected is a sprinkler maintenance as well. So you feel like you're prepared to do that and to bring the district up to what acceptable standards would be for landscaping?
Yes, ma'am. I'm real familiar with landscaping. Like the sprinkler system, I'm not familiar with in that CR district. I haven't had much experience with the sprinkler system.
Okay.
I'm just being honest.
All right, that's fine, that's good. I will say that Mr. Chipman submitted his certificate of liability insurance for each occurrence $1 million. And he didn't submit his vehicle insurance, but we would assume, and if you are awarded the bid, you'll submit
Yes, ma'am.
proof of that, but we'll assume you have it, you're driving your car.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how do you propose to pick up litter along Highway 98? How will you be doing that?
Well, like Mr. Ray there, I have a truck and a trailer. I do not have any small top vehicle. That would be something, if I was awarded the bid, I would be looking at first.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Chipman has had his articles of organization registered with the state since May of 2019. Okay. All right. Mr. May?
I'm pretty much just had the same, that it's a full-time job, and it's one man. I have a hard time doing it. pay some. And that's, I don't know how else to say that. If you want to address it, I'd be glad to.
Well, all I can say, I'm gonna do the best I can. I got some help, and I'll work till the job gets done. Whether that's weekdays, weekends, and that's all I can, that's all I can say.
And how many people work with you or
Well, I have
on this job?
my dad back here, he's retired.
Mhm.
He works for me when he's able. And then, I got a buddy that works for me on the weekends.
Okay. And were there any other questions, Mr. May, that you can remember that you asked Mr.
No.
Messer? How long did they expect it would take them to do the work, or? I'm sorry.
I didn't really ask. But if he's, if he's gonna work, do it until you get it done.
Yeah, I'm with the same boat, Mr. Ray there. I had never done it, so I can't tell you the exact hours it's gonna take to do it. And right now, I just went through there, and it's in a mess right now, so it's probably gonna be unlimited hours, till you get it straightened out.
And you're aware, both of you all are aware, the litter and debris that you pick up, that can
Goes
be
to the
deposited?
city.
Yes, that you don't have to fund, that.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's not something we pay for, that's something we provide.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, and Ms. Sabrina, do you have questions? Okay, and then you need to go ahead and ask your two questions that you asked Mr. Messer. Why? I'll ask it then. Are you from Carrabelle?
Yes, ma'am, 41 years.
And how old are you?
41.
I mean, that really has no.
Well, not really, I'm 40, I'll be 41 next month, so.
And just to be fair, and I will say that the age and where they're from has no bearing on awarding the bid. Is that correct, Mr. Hartman?
That's correct.
Okay, so we can't use that,
I wouldn't be saying anything.
but we wanted to be fair. We don't want to put Mr. Messer on the spot and not the other. So, do you have anything else then you'd like to
No, ma'am,
add?
that's it. Thanks for considering.
All right,
All right,
thank you both for submitting the bid.
Yes, thank you.
I will just say that it's worrisome that Mr. Messer hasn't seen the map. And that Mr. Messer hasn't investigated in what the liability insurance will cost, and and certainly we can give either one of them a try. I'm sure they both would do the best that they could do. I am. But it costs money to, give them a try for 6 months, and if it doesn't work out, go back to the drawing board. But it costs money to go through the bidding process and hassle on staff, and meanwhile, while we're going through the bidding process, which takes 2 to 3 months, the district suffers. So, and the landscaping falls in disarray again. So we want to try to do the best we can do in the first place is what I suggest here.
I'm not sure even if it's appropriate in a sense, but compared to our previous contract per 6-month period, how would you say these estimates stack up?
Can we talk about that, Ms. Courtney, Dan?
Certainly, you can talk about it, sure.
I mean-
What we paid in the past, what,
I know what, and
It's
it
a
was
public
made
record.
public, what Captain
It's public
Dave.
record.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
I don't know the exact number, but I have a good estimate, was like,
I don't know the exact, I don't have that with me.
I think it was 58,000 for a full year.
I think that was his last bid that we didn't accept it, but he was cheaper than that the prior.
And it was 38 or 39, just under 39,000 for a full year before.
Did that include any of that extra stuff you had him doing sometimes,
The extra stuff he charged for,
charged extra?
like when he would put in rose bushes extra, he charged for that. When he did real extensive repair. He overhauled our sprinkler system.
Right.
You know, he charged for that. We had to pay for that in phases.
And
because it cost so much.
those were in addition to whatever the contract, initial contract number.
Yes, yes. And so that's how, say for instance, this area got in such bad disarray because he came back and said he would landscape this, and he had a real high price, and we denied. Do we remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we can certainly, retain the right to refuse all bid offers, and I believe that was included in the advertisement. We have entertained hiring a part-timer that would be paid for with the CRA fund, and a part-time would not have benefits if they work under how many hours, Ms. Courtney? 32? And the part-timer would work under the direction of our CRA Director and Administrator, Ms. Courtney. We have discussed that, but we didn't follow up on it. So, there we have it.
I'll make a motion that we hire Ray Benson.
All right, so we have that motion on the floor. Let me find my paperwork here. By Commissioner Allen to contract with Ray and Kyle's law service. Do we have a second? Okay then, and do we have a second? All right, and that motion fails.
I'll second.
Okay, you'll second, okay. All right, then we have a motion and a second by Ms. Sabrina Brown, motion by Commissioner Allen. Is there any further discussion? Okay, then, those in favor?
Aye.
And Sabrina? And you said aye?
I didn't hear Sabrina. Yes, I'll say that, yes.
Okay, all right, so, those in favor, we have 4, and, any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries, all right then. So, you have Mr. Messer. We'd like you to be able to get to work like this afternoon, but since you've got to bring your insurance up to compliance, as soon as you can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe we could spend some of the time while we're getting that to do a hard look at the CRA district. Could I go with him and do that?
I know what you mean. I asked Mr. Hartman last week, could I go with each of the bidders myself, because, this is really my project, and he said, no, I couldn't.
Right.
And so, but now can Mr. Bowe go, and can we go with them individually with
Yeah,
Mr. Messer?
once he is, I'm gonna call it confirmed as the award, having been awarded the bid and now working for the CRA, certainly people can talk to him, meet with him, and all that. But he's not there quite yet, because he still has to get the insurance in line.
And sign the contract.
And sign the contract. When Courtney gives you the green light, you can.
I would think that'd be really good. I mean, Brenda has her own, she has the most comprehensive agenda. I have the specific agenda,
Right.
She can double down on any of mine.
Yeah.
And I would want you to ride with me to show me, if you got something you want to show me, I would be more than open,
The bottom line is we want to make the thing work as well as we can. So that the city gets the maximum benefit from the effort of having the opportunity to do that. Because it's made a big difference in the look of of the downtown area, CRA, not being able to put this money into maintenance.
We want the district, I want the district to look like a visitor center, like a visitor, a visitor center that you go to, on the Florida state line, it needs to be, of course, we don't have money for expensive plants like that. And we may not put plants in for quite some time, we don't have that in the budget coming up. But, to get all of the dead plants, the weeds, the debris, the sand in the streets, and trim everything back, and 12th Street Fishing Pier, that is, trim all of that back. They can't even use the sidewalks over there because the bushes have grown over in it so bad. So, it's a big job, as Mr. May said.
It is a daunting task, really.
Hello.
Welcome to the pit.
I'm up for it.
Okay.
Well, we do appreciate you guys coming in and showing.
Thank you, sir. Both of you.
Don't forget us, because sometimes things change.
All right, then, we'll close that item out, and thank you again, both of you, for submitting your bid offers,
You will.
and we appreciate it very much, and we appreciate you all wanting to help Carrabelle and help our CRA district.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on then to old business. Item 1, discussion and possible action regarding criteria requirements for the CRA event promotions grant, including procedures, eligibility, I can't say it, reimbursement, cancellation, and marketing coordination. Commissioner Millinder, did you get one of these on your desk over there?
But I think everyone knows where I was at. So.
Okay, I think maybe Ms. Courtney didn't know if you were going to be here or not.
Well, I did, I
Yeah, I
just
didn't
printed
do-
for you, I didn't print.
Oh, that I didn't.
I can print it real quick.
Okay.
But anyway, I apologize for being tardy, but I think everyone knows where I was. Administrator property announced it, so.
We saw a crowd there. Mr. Worthy will have a memorial service at the Legion as well. He's a very nice man.
Good friend, like a brother.
He's going to be missed on the aviation advisory board as well.
Did you know when the Legion's gonna hold its
I believe it's the 7th.
7th,
7th?
November 7th.
It's the least raucous meeting we've ever had.
What?
Least raucous.
Oh, okay.
The way it's conversation in general. Some of it's behind the mask, I guess.
Could be the next orders.
Listen.
So I, of course, I already made some suggestions on this. I actually did the small grants application criteria for the TDC with some guidelines that they had already set up. So, and we did, and Courtney and I put this together a couple of 3 years ago, maybe 3 years. But then I realized with the way our budget and fiscal year falls, and some things that we've added to the TDC, that we needed to come back and just revise this a little bit, not much.
I think I looked at the old.
Huh. Not much, not like we had to work on the animal ordinance. That was quite a chore. Thank you, Courtney. so page 1, objective, that was just fine. And I believe Tamara helped us write some of that years ago. And then the overview, since we're, we go ahead now and we add these grants into our budget, like for the Riverfront Festival, the Holiday on the Harbor. No, what do we have in there? Riverfront Festival, Culture Crawl, and there's fishing tournament, and then the Holiday on the Harbor, we assist that through the fireworks. The CRA funds the fireworks for that. So we, instead of making their application to Ms. Courtney by September the 30th, we really need to have them notify Courtney by at least June of each year before we get into our budget discussions, so that we can make sure that we add those in there on our budget. If they're not going to need it, then we wouldn't put it in our budget. And then next, the applicant must be, for a nonprofit, actively registered with the Division of Corporations. And then the special event must take place between October 1st and September the 30th of the fiscal year in which the grant was awarded. And then down at timeline, applicants are required to submit funding requests again no later than June 1st for the regularly scheduled June CRA meeting. And then so that we can, approve that for the upcoming budget workshops. And then grant funding agreements, and this document shall be referred to as the Carrabelle. That's just kind of like a typo. CRA, nonprofit organization events grant. And then on the next one down at the bottom, eligibility. I added the 501c6 because that is what the Carrabelle Chamber is, and we want them to, now that they're doing our Riverfront Festival, we want them to be able to qualify for the funding that we're setting aside for that event. Funding limitations. Okay, so at one point we were going to, I believe, fund 25% of the total project, but at this point we are just allocating a lump sum, and then so that the funding amounts will be allocated based on the individual merit of each project. So the Riverfront Festival is much larger than the Carrabelle Crawl at this point, so that's how the funding amounts vary. Funding for each grant may vary contingent upon the availability of budgeted CRA funds, and that's with any grant anywhere. Funding for each grant may vary depending on the CRA financial priorities within any given fiscal year, and that's we closed down this program for a couple of years because our financial priorities were for Northwest Avenue B. Carrabelle CRA is in no way under any requirement or expectation to provide funding to any organization. All right. And then required grant criteria just down at the bottom. Completed application packets submitted will be accepted no later than June 1st of each year. Thank June 1st. And then the special events grant cancellation policy, and this came into play with the TDC, and it made me go back, and that's when I first started realizing that this needed to be revised a little bit, is that we had to enact our cancellation policy on the TDC because there were so many events that the TDC funds to nonprofits that I think we fund 30. That we need a cancellation policy in ours as well, and it's pretty much the same as the TDC. In the event that it is necessary to cancel events for any reason, it's the responsibility of the organization to give notice of such cancellation to the CRA Director no later than 5 days before the event is scheduled to occur. Failure to provide such notice will result in the organization being disqualified from applying for grant funds in the next year's cycle. The CRA will not reimburse organizations for any funds for an event that has been canceled unless invoices with proof of payment are submitted for items such as advertising which has occurred previous to the event date. Should it be necessary to reschedule an event, the CRA Director must be notified no less than 2 days prior to the next CRA board meeting, immediately prior to the originally scheduled event, or sooner to obtain approval for rescheduling the event. And so, for instance, the Lighthouse Lantern Fest, back when Michael hit, they had already done a lot of advertising with TDC money. And then Michael hit, and they could not get the area cleaned up in time to do the Lantern Fest, but the TDC did reimburse them for invoices that they could demonstrate that they had advertised for the Riverfront Festival. So that's, you know, we're not gonna say no if you've already planned something and then something, an act of God happens and they can't hold the event. On the application, first page is okay. I have a question, and I meant to ask Courtney, but it got by me. Number 3, organization's most recent IRS filing, unless the organization is less than 1 year old. Now, we're asking, I believe that we asked that the organization have been established for 2 years, or that the event has already happened for 2 years before they make their application. I believe that's in this policy. So what does that seem like to you, Courtney? Can we leave that? Does that make sense, or? I mean, Dan,
I understand. I mean, there's a couple things. One, are you asking for their tax return? Or are you asking for the IRS designation as a 501c?
I think that's it, because it talks about fictitious name filing, that type.
I would say we probably don't want their tax returns in our public records, but I do believe you can get something from the IRS where you're basically designated that not-for-profit status.
Okay.
You get that status.
And that's
Verifying their
And verifying not-for-profit status, and then obviously the existence, the time that they've been, I mean, obviously then you're eliminating people who are trying to get, you know, a year or two under their belt. So you always gotta start somewhere. So, but if you only want basically some mature organizations, that's a decision for the board.
And that's the TDC does that as well. They request that events have happened 2 years in a row before the TDC will consider granting.
I got you. Because, right. We're talking about providing money. We're not yet perfect yet. So they can do it on their own a couple of years to show that they can fly, and then
right. It's an effective event, or that
makes sense.
they can, you know, they've got volunteers that are going. It's a big job, you know, putting on an event.
So do you want to leave it like that? Organization's most recent IRS filing, unless the organization is less than 1 year old.
I would say on that one, the most recent IRS filing is proof of not-for-profit status from the IRS would be what we really want. Yeah, it's a little clunky, but that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, just put that proof of.
Proof of status from IRS.
Behind.
All right, so the next page, number 3, that's copacetic, and then it says you need to contact the CRA representative. No, you need to contact the CRA director. Okay? And then here we go on the applicant's acknowledgement, same thing that we have for the facade grant. And that's just the same. Funding amounts will be allocated based on the individual merit of each project. The funding for each grant may vary contingent on the availability of budgeted CRA funds. And so then the other two, depending on and CRA financial priorities, and the CRA is in no way required or expected to provide funding to any organization. And then to add the 501c6, and that the special event needs to take place in the fiscal year in which the grant was awarded. And then grant funds will be reimbursed to the recipient to the maximum extent possible within 60 business days of receipt and verification of all expenditure documents, including appropriate receipts and proof of payment. And then,
I have a question about
Okay.
that. So we took out the limits as to how much they can request, is that correct?
at this point, we're awarding, I think we awarded 500 to Carrabelle Crawl, 1,200 to the Riverfront Festival and the fishing tournament. Are we awarding 500 to that? So we designated that according to what our budget would allow, but also as according to the merits of the event. How big the event is, what the event does to support our CRA district economic development in our district. And the Riverfront Festival is really a big event, and they spend a lot of money, and they can use help where they can get it, and they bring a lot of tourists and business and vendors that stay in hotels and eat in the area.
So there, I know with certain things, if they apply for it, you kind of have to give it to them if they follow all the rules. So is that going to cause any problem in the future if maybe a new organization comes and wants to get $15,000?
Well, they would just come and submit their request to Ms. Courtney, and then we would allocate
We
funding.
can say how much.
Yes,
Okay.
according to what our budget will allow.
Okay.
And not just say, okay, we're going to give you this much every year, because our budget may not allow for that.
Okay.
We may have other priorities. Okay, then page 6, applicants will give permission to the CRA to place a funded in part by Carrabelle Community Redevelopment Agency sign at the event during the dates of the event. And I have been to an event several times where the city and the CRA has funded $500, and there's not even a mention of the city or the CRA, and that kind of hurts my feelings. So we want these events to acknowledge that the city and or the CRA is helping them, and they acknowledge the other people and the other organizations, but they leave out the city. That just hurts my feelings.
Maybe we should get a banner and require, as part of the requirement, I know Duke Energy does that, when you get money from Duke, then they make you put the banner up, and
Yeah.
they provide the banner, and maybe we should do that.
Like at the Riverfront Festival, where they block off the street, have a banner right there. And then I was also gonna ask for like the facade grant, we're supposed to put a sign up in each building or whatever. Do we have those?
Courtney
Yes,
has
we
some.
do. I think it says this project is funded with CRA funds or something.
And that's it, that's all she wrote. And do you all have any other suggestions or recommendations?
One editorial note,
Okay,
update the mailing address.
that's a good editorial note. Thank you. We're getting a lot of those requests recently. Then do we want to just go ahead and accept this amendment to the event promotions grant and application? Do we want to do that?
Yes.
Okay, are you motioning for
I'll
that?
make a motion to accept
Second.
documents as.
All righty.
Hold on, let me get back to that. That was May.
May and Ms. Brown, Mr. May and Mr. Brown to adopt the amended CRA nonprofit organization events grant program and application.
copy amended.
And then I just read off the name of the CRA nonprofit organization and events. Events grant program and application. All right, thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Discussion 2, this is an easy one. Possible discussion of possible, item 2, discussion of possible action concerning scheduled fireworks display. And this is in reference to what we just mentioned earlier, that the CRA funds the fireworks on the December the 12th is going to be for this year. And Ms. Keisha's already scheduled that, is that correct, Ms. Court?
That is correct.
And that's for $2,500. But that was surrounding the Holiday on the Harbor Boat Parade, which has unfortunately been canceled. But maybe it's for the best, I don't know. So I don't know. We want to know how you all would like to proceed. Do we want to cancel? Do we want to have the fireworks? I did communicated with Ms. Tamara. She and the Waterfront Partnership, usually, they always do the Santa display with Santa riding on the fire truck and seeing all the kids. Now, they are going to have Santa come in Apalachicola, but he's not going to arrive by shrimp boat this time because they usually have about 1,500 people gathered around. But they're going to put Santa like in a snowball or a star, and the kids are going to come up and give a letter to Santa with their wishes. So, you know, I talked to Tamara, could we do something like that? And she's running it by her volunteer folks to see if we do the fireworks, that she would try to. Our Santa that we normally have is ill and he cannot be Santa this year. So we have to locate someone with Santa suit, their staff.
We're in touch with the person that's friend of mine. I'll ask him.
Okay,
It's perfect.
all right.
It's available.
But Ms. Tamara said that would be pending on whether or not the fireworks happen. So, what do we think?
It's hard.
I know a lot of people that like fireworks.
Will we have another meeting with you now?
Well, we can, but we have to,
Participation at that time of year without having an event around it, I don't know about that. Just like the Mayor said, if we had our boat parade lights, absolutely. People have come to love and appreciate that. But boat parade lights as an outing starts early evening before dark. People socialize on the street, enjoy the parade of lights and then the fireworks. But if there's no event, I don't know.
it would be similar to our 4th of July. There's really no
Well,
event.
4th of July even, in my opinion, the 4th of July even, that's Independence Day. That's pretty much fireworks. People's looking
Yeah.
for a fireworks somewhere. And that's pretty well known in our society. But just to have one without another event other than something that's known widely, I don't know.
I know it.
Yeah.
And then Courtney and I just remembered, we discussed having it on New Year's. You know, you have fireworks and they do that a lot. But then we said, well, is New Year's on a Saturday night?
Well,
I
another
can't stay
thing.
up till midnight.
That's the
Another
thing,
thing.
it's so late.
That's what I was gonna say.
Us old folks.
At the fireworks they expecting on New Year's happens at 12:01. So
And if it's on a Sunday morning, I'm not real
Watch
sure.
it on TV.
And then I worry.
It's
if
a
we-
Bring
if-
kids out there.
Thursday night.
Oh, it's on a Thursday?
Well,
Okay.
is there any chance of the boat parade reconnecting?
They're not doing that.
I have heard some comments of disappointment by not having the
I know.
vote for it. And I didn't know if that might be reignited or not.
We've sent a note to them asking, because we were trying to figure out about the fireworks, and she wrote back definitely that they're not having it. And they've even got it posted on the TDC website, canceled.
Well,
Let me ask one other question, because I remember the July 4th issue. Is insurance no longer a problem?
It is no longer a problem.
I would, go ahead, Dan.
That's it.
I was thinking that, if we don't have a significant event to have the fireworks, that maybe we could move the money forward to the 4th of July and have a larger display on the 4th of July. Hopefully we're beyond some of the things that we're into right now, and add that money to the 4th of July and just have a larger display. That's
Well,
just
I
a
mean,
thought.
that's good, that's in the same fiscal year.
Yes.
But we need to understand, would we just be, because we can't fund a long-time traditional city event, but do you think, is there some way, can we do that? I mean,
We could do a CRA 4th of July celebration, band.
do a band?
Do it all.
Do it
Be great.
all.
Do it all.
That's just a thought.
Who's gonna do that, Dan?
I'll learn an instrument.
But if we had $7,500, you'd have a heck of a firework.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then would they be expecting that every year? And that's what I'm worried about, doing it on New Year's Eve. Then are they gonna expect that every year?
Well, not only on New Year's, I have a feeling that the ones that's gonna wanna watch it at midnight,
They'll be in
and
bed.
that's when they're gonna want it.
Uh-huh.
And the ones that's gonna watch it, there's not too many families gonna be there at
Right.
midnight. That's just a thought.
And what day is CRA, I mean, that's 4th of July, Greg? Of course, we usually do it the day after, so that we have a 3-day event in all of Franklin County.
It's a Sunday night, a Sunday.
So for us, it would be on a Monday night. That's when our fireworks would be.
Or Saturday.
Because we can't afford,
Well, Appalachia does the
uh,
I thought it
Yeah.
rotated every year.
no, Appalachia's the 3rd and St. George Island the 4th, and, yeah. And that happened because we can no longer afford to do it on the 5th, even if we put CRA on the 4th, because even if we put CRA money, they
We
would.
may could do the second, so it'd be a Friday night, it'd be Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, that's an idea too. Well, Mr. Hartman, if you think that we can combine, if we can assist the city in the 4th of July fireworks, then maybe.
Wait a minute, actually, what I was. Yeah, no. What I was, I understand the concern about getting kind of hooked into doing something, annually, but I do think we're in a unique, we could have the CRA do a, Carrabelle's back open for business again after the long night of the coronavirus, hopefully, and we can do a one-of event, certainly by the CRA. And we've talked about this before, and we talked at City of Tallahassee about it, where the CRA works cooperatively, I think, on city events, but that can get complicated. So we don't need to do that. We don't need to mix the two.
Planning events is a lot of work and time.
It's really something. The CRA is back open for business. I mean, that might be a good one. I mean, and just put it on Facebook and advertise it like that, get TDC to advertise it, have fireworks, and we're back open for business. No real.
And that's a one-of type thing.
Okay, so, but for now, we think we want to cancel the December 12th fireworks. Is that what we want?
concur with Tony.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I've given my opinion, so
Okay.
I'm just listening.
That's what makes sense.
What do you think, Mr. Newman?
I think it's Newman, it's Newman.
Excuse me, I know that. I I got the new
I was
part.
wondering about fireworks on Camp Gordon Johnson Day.
They leave at 1 o'clock.
In the day.
Well, it's a 3-day event now, Camp Gordon Johnson Day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I just had your.
Sorry, Mr. Newton. But then if we did that, is the Camp Gordon Johnson gonna expect that every year? Are the folks going to expect that every year?
I would think you would make a stipulation, this is a one-time only.
And when we did the fly-in with Camp Gordon Johnson Days for 2 years after, aren't you having a fly-in? Aren't you having?
Yeah, it wouldn't be just the Camp Gordon Johnson Association expected, it'd be the general public.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, for now, we will, so what do you have to do, Courtney? Give them about a 6-week notice?
Yeah, it probably needs about 6 weeks.
Okay, if it's not the major New Year or 4th of July, okay. All right, so we can, I would just request then a motion just to cancel the fireworks for the December 12th event.
Can I ask another question? Can we, and you said, Courtney, you need 6 weeks.
About 6 weeks, yeah. Because
Of course,
he
we're
needs
not
to do
gonna
it
have
before
one
he
meeting.
orders.
I'm still, and it probably is not gonna materialize, but I have seen things happen before that did materialize, like the boat parade. And I would like for us to be prepared and not non-prepared, like to put it on hold. And if something materializes, we get to the 6 weeks, you have to cancel. Other than that, put it on hold. And if something materializes with the boat parade, then we'll be prepared. If not, we won't.
But we're about at that 6-week,
Yeah, we are.
December the 12th, I mean, we're like at 7 weeks out from it now.
Yeah, we're getting close, yeah. It would be but a couple more weeks of window we have.
Because he has to order the fireworks and purchase those ahead of time, so he,
Well, I'll make a motion and postpone.
Okay, all right. And then, Commissioner Miller, motion to postpone. And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, and that's Ms. Brown. And any discussion? And I would say let's just, for now, keep our eyes and ears alert. And if we hear of some other time that we might be able to have our fireworks maybe in the summer, and let's talk about it and do it.
Well, I'll agree, because I was trying to brainstorm, just like Mr. Newton over here. I think of another significant event that we might do it, but that's a thought coming into mind is, will people begin to expect it, et cetera? That's the reason why I'm trying to tie it into the 4th of July.
I know it, they might not really realize it. Maybe, we could say, well, he gave us a bonus, where'd you come?
Yeah.
No, but we'll see. Okay, though, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then, you oppose?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. You didn't.
Well,
You
Commissioner,
have something you want to say?
yeah, do you have an
I
idea?
just said it, no.
Okay.
No! You hear me?
Yes, sir, I hear you.
Frankly, if this is here.
Okay.
so you really opposed?
Yes, evidently, he's just.
I'm joking.
You're
You'd
for
like to
real.
take that
He
vote
has to
again,
answer
please?
to Tamara.
Oh, he has to answer Miss Tamlin.
I got it.
Okay, she got it. Then that motion carries, I'm sorry, it carries.
What's okay?
Okay.
I've been in the minority a lot of times.
All right. All right then. But
Most of
we're
the
gonna
time.
try to find some other way to have some fireworks.
Well, when the time comes, let's discuss it.
We
We'll go
will.
on with it.
We'll find us a Santa Claus and bring him.
Christmas in August. All right, Mr. Russell, do you have anything to report to us? Innovio Consulting Group, Russell Large.
Thank you. Just real quick on the Marine Street project, the deadline for that funding application has been extended to November the 9th. It was October the 5th. So, to my knowledge, it's not yet been submitted, but Melissa has everything she needs.
And you said to
November the 9th.
Oh,
Right.
that extends out the award date.
Typically it would,
Mhm.
right? They tend to shift dates unpredictably, so it's hard to really know when the award would be made.
I did get a complaint on the website today about the fencing down there and how, so we may want to look into trying to sturdy that up some. I know that it's part of this project, but I don't know if we can wait that long. It's a hazard.
And maybe sturdy it up, but maybe not put new yet, something.
Or something, I'll have to have Justin go down there and take a look at it. I know they've used them L brackets before and I don't know how well they work, but if it's a safety hazard when we really can't wait.
And I think we put some good amount of money in our maintenance this year to.
Have you,
No, I haven't been down there looking at it.
I was down there Sunday. It's not much different than what it's been for quite some time. But it's been in disrepair for quite some time. It's flip. So, anyway.
We've got $30,000 in the maintenance and repair budget line item, so we could, if it's necessary, we can go there.
And then also, they're offering a CRA training next week on Monday, from, what was it, 9 to 12
I
or?
can't remember.
Literally next week.
Literally next week.
Yikes.
They just sent it out, I got it this morning, and it was $50 per person. But we were thinking that we could just register one person and connect it to the TV, and anybody that wanted to attend that could come and attend that.
But Mr. Bowe, if you won't be here, we've got money in training budget. You could register for it and watch it wherever you are, if you're out of town.
It's
Next week,
October the
next month.
25th, 26th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and it's gonna be on virtual Zoom. And it's a CRA board training.
It's probably like that CRA
It
basics.
says this session is designed for elected and appointed officials, volunteers, and advisory board members. It provides a succinct overview, I can't see, of what you need to know that you don't know in the universe of CRAs. Learn some helpful practical, legal, and administrative best practices for CRA policy making success.
All that
I'll
3
go
hours.
watch it.
Wow. Could we do it together, or can we get it in here?
Yes, that's what we
Could
were
be
saying.
more than one of us be here.
I tried to register this morning, but I got locked out of my account, so I'm trying to get that reset. We forgot my password.
And it's the CRA basics course, I'm sure, and the 3 hour, that's what it is, the 3 hour course, but it's very helpful.
Yeah, we've done at least one of those.
I've done that 4 times, and then Courtney and I went to the academy, which was something right there.
It's okay, okay, Monday's okay, 26th.
Once I get registered, I'll send everybody out some information and confirm that.
It's just a Zoom meeting. Go ahead.
And we can just sit right in here.
I'll just plug it in, plug the TV in,
Oh,
and
that's good.
laptop, and we can just watch it.
Okay, I like this.
All right,
I mean, I like Zoom.
Did we have anything more for Mr. Russell? Any questions? He
I was
had-
just gonna offer, I do have a contact with a fencing company. If you like, I can get a quote from them and help coordinate. Okay, I'll do that.
You're talking about the wire fence on the boardwalk? All of them?
Did you see the fencing by the Isle of Rest when you came in?
I do.
Looking good.
I know it. I know it. That's beautiful. Okey-dokey. Other items brought forward by CRA board members, do you all have anything to report? Okay.
I'm not a report, I have a question and a suggestion. Could we get a report to the CRA from the maintenance, every CRA
Now, wait, hold,
a report that would go.
let me hear Mr. Bowe. Okay, so you want a report from the contractors that we just hired
Yes,
every meeting?
every meeting, here's where I am with maintenance, and it just put on our agenda and it has,
Do you want the person to come in, or?
yes,
I think that's actually a pretty good idea considering what's been going on in the past, at least for a little while.
I think we would have
It's
done
only
better
once a
with
month.
Mr. Previous.
That may have went well with our,
CRA meetings.
had we, I'm going to be asking after the first year that we do need to meet more than quarterly, because we can't move forward, we can't get our projects going unless we do meet
I think we
more
should
often.
meet, I think, cause
Something, I mean, if we have nothing on the agenda like the P&Z, it can certainly be canceled, but, you know, to go for 3 months and not meet, it puts the CRA dead in the water.
it holds it. And particularly we're starting a new program that's for 6 months. We need to be like, just come in and tell us what you're doing, how's it going, you need help?
Yeah.
How many hours a week is it taking you for the money you're making? I mean, to me, I do the math on that, and I think what it is you could go to work at Burger King and have a lot easier job.
So I think that's a good idea, especially even for the first 6 months, and let's just see.
Go through coordinate to us, but he's.
And then that also takes the pressure off of Courtney. You know, sometimes I would say, Courtney, this isn't done, and then she's got to wrestle with the contractor. And if the person was in here, then we could all take the hit, all of us, even Courtney. So.
I mean, you do that at the council meetings with the commission, with the airport. I think this is a adult service, and we need to be kept up to date.
Okay.
That way we'll
What's her
maybe
doing?
have a better idea if things are falling behind, that we need to start looking for someone who can board.
Yeah, or help that person,
Right,
you know,
give them
get on
guidance.
board, or what, you know.
I know you go look, and I'll look at some that you, I mean, that, I'll probably look at all you rules, and I'll look at some that you'll look at. We'll have opinions about
All right.
what needs.
Well, would you like a motion for that, to request the contract?
No, I think I just got direction from the board, and I can put with that.
Okay, I think that's a good
I think
idea.
it's a staff presentation. I mean, not really.
And just briefly, I don't have to have a written report or anything, or they bring in bullet points. Well, geez, you know, this is, the whole thing is whatever they need to report.
I mean, developing rapport with the person will be helpful.
That's good. Okay, do you have anything else, Mr. Bell?
Can we say a Family Dollar?
Yes, can he say Family Dollar?
Actually,
It's in the CRA.
It is in the CRA.
it's in the CRA. The one thing just to be careful of, as far as what we're talking about, is I would not bring up at this meeting anything that would require that you're gonna make a decision on
No,
at a subsequent city commission meeting, or else because Family Dollar's not here. Right, and we have essentially the
Yeah.
commission here.
And we don't have, really, this CRA board doesn't have anything to do with it necessarily, except for the fact that,
that it is in the CRA district.
Right.
And what it is, and where it is under our purview legally. And my comment is going to be that we keep the citizens alerted, aware of what is happening. And then it's not just the P&Z sends out that information, because it's in the district, CRA has a responsibility to look at it.
all right, let me ask Mr. Hartman.
That's fine. I mean, a simple state, obviously, what I think Mr. Man's saying is that, just so everybody understands, that they are going through the process of P&Z to commission, back to P&Z to commission, back to P&Z to commission. as that application moves forward, certainly the citizenry is provided notice of that and participate. But we don't want to, I would recommend against discussing the merits of that application at this meeting.
Yeah, I don't think I haven't done it, I don't think.
And 4 of us were at that meeting, so the 4 of us know that that's happening.
Yeah.
And at that P and Z meeting, and Ms. Tammy was at the P and Z meeting, so I'm sure that you're aware that it's happening. So we really don't need to necessarily announce it because we were there, we know it's happening. Or that we know that the preliminary conceptual has been presented to the P and Z. Yes, sir.
I had a discussion this morning with Mr. Butler.
Yeah, the thing is,
Probably not.
Let's not talk, we don't want to be talking about this. If they have a pending application, it's going to be quite prejudicial if we don't.
Well, I advised him of that.
Okay, and you have 2 commission members here too, so. But I would advise you to speak to Mr. Hartman about that conversation.
I've talked to several business people around town since the P and Z meeting.
But don't tell us what.
Yeah, don't, I mean, look, the thing is, I mean, how many times do I have to say it?
I know, but what they want to know is when are the meetings? That's really what they want to know, and they don't necessarily.
The meetings are posted on the city's website under government committees and boards, and our meetings are regular.
I sort of, maybe I can get better now as far as what Bo's getting at is, if there are citizens out there that are aware of this and they want, which we've had the, I'll bring up some of our favorite issues, the alcohol ordinance, that sort of thing, right? You got a big turnout for that. But that was citizens who wanted to be involved. All they have to do is ask when the meetings are, everything else. We've had them at the same dates, the same times, the third Thursday, the first Thursday of the month for 100 years. So they are encouraged to participate all the time. Because the most frustrating thing, I'm speaking as the attorney, but really the elected officials who really get frustrated, they come in and complain 3 months after a decision's been made. And they say, oh, I didn't know. And they blame staff or commissioners, and they say, you know, we have workshops and we're going to have at least 6 meetings on that project before public meetings, before it reaches.
The dates will be on the city's website. I always post those on my Facebook page. Sometimes Courtney does. She shares my post, or she posts them herself, the meeting notices. Whenever I send out an email blast to the people that I have emails for about the meeting notices, I know you get one, and you get one. I don't know, I think you get one too. I don't know if I got you on that list, but you know when the meetings are.
You scratch me.
Okay, I beg your pardon?
You scratch.
Oh, okay.
You don't scratch.
Or I might have because you became a commission member. But Michael Allen gets the notice, Oyster Radio, and he advertises it, our meetings on Oyster Radio for us as a PSA for free. I don't know how else to get the notice out there.
And commissioners or board members, they can certainly talk to their constituents.
Yes.
And, I mean, that happens all the time where a contingent comes supporting the position of a given commissioner. So
I have not expressed my opinion to the people I talk to. I've just asked them if they knew it was in front of the P and Z, and how did they feel about it in the general.
And they can send their comments to Courtney or Keisha, and they can forward those comments on to the Mr. Collins Moe. And I'm telling people that myself, if they're calling me complaining or voicing their approval, one or the other, pro, con, well then please write that down in an email and I will send it on to that gentleman, the representative that was here.
That's fine.
Okay, and guess what, they won't do it.
You may be surprised, because
We may not be able to social distance at the next meeting from phone calls.
Yeah.
People show up that call.
We'll have to talk about that
I
later.
haven't seen this room that beyond social distance.
It wouldn't take much. It won't take much.
No, it won't. We're not worried about it.
do we have any other comments? Any
Let me
other?
add just one thing. He called me, I didn't call him.
And it's fine that he talks to you, and he can talk to Brenda, and he can talk to Tony, y'all just can't talk about
Yeah, you can't tell me about it right now, but you can tell Mr. Dan, or you can tell Ms.
Oh,
Courtney
okay.
privately. Oh.
One more question about the maintenance thing. Two of us can't go with him somewhere, can we?
No. That, we can't do that, no.
Even though it's just technically.
He would think we were ganging up.
No.
No.
No, no, no. I give me heartburn.
Did you take the ethics course?
No.
I know, I just, I just ask. I'm stupid.
Well, that CRA basics will help as well.
I know you can do it.
Okay.
Or you and I would have been going around looking at God knows what.
I know. We can go around, look at stuff out of the district if you want. All right. So is there any other items? Any other items brought forth by board members? All right. I just want to tell you all real quick, I've got it written here, I'll read it. Rob Powers, you know, he's been working on our webcam over at C quarters because it got, their router got struck by lightning, and so it kind of blew that out of the water over there. So he came across while I was trying to find a camera, this company called Surf Guru, G-U-R-U. Mr. Brian Davis is the owner of that, and he came over here. Rob was able to convince him to install a regular professional HD camera, just like they use on WeatherStem and some of these real nice cameras that you see that are used for TV stations. He installed that for free over at C quarters in place of the camera that we had there. And the live feed is going to stream to the TDC, the CRA website, and we got him to do it to the city's website as well. We just have to pay him this $2K to put that on there. And it can also now can be used by TV stations, and Rob is going to, Visit Florida, it's going to be on Visit Florida, and he's going to get it hooked up with WCTV and WMBB, and then some of their sister stations possibly. It will have, you can, anybody that goes in to look at it, once you get the link, you can, it's going to have 5 positions that we asked for, but probably you could have all different positions, and you'll be able to look to the way out to the mouth of the river and then zoom in over towards dockside. So that's 2 positions straight across, and then over towards the bridge, way out to the bridge. You'll be able to see the bridge, and then you're going to be able to zoom in on the bridge. So the user can do that, and you have, I think each user has 30 seconds or something. The directions will be on there. And then for like our fireworks display, he will set that. We just let him know, and he'll set that right on the fireworks display. He said he would do for free 10-second advertisements if we had an event coming up, the fireworks of the Riverfront Festival. He'll have that advertisement run across in the, you know, like a banner. Or if we wanted to have, say, someone like Royce Rosted do little 10-second advertisements for the city of Carrabelle or the CRA, then he can have that come in every 30 seconds or something, or whenever you move from one position to another, then that can come, that advertisement, that video can come in for 10 seconds. So we got that.
That's awesome.
I'm going to be looking at the CRA site, and I think Ms. Brown is too. There's some things that we need to bring up today. We have funding for that through 2K. And then I want to tell y'all, while I was doing some research on the legalities of CRA awarding bids, because this was, you know, our first time, and some CRAs reserve the right to award to bids that are just business owners that are in the CRA district and in the city limits, like Crestview does.
There is a local preference provisions in that.
But while I was looking, I found this little section in the statute that I had forgotten about, but I knew it, but forgot it. and it's regarding the redevelopment trust fund. And on the last day of the fiscal year of the Community Redevelopment Agency, any money which remains in the trust fund, that's our budget, after the payment of all expenses pursuant to subsection 6 for the year, for the fiscal year, shall be returned to each taxing authority which paid the increment in proportion that amount of the payment of such taxing authority bears to the total amount paid into the trust fund by all taxing authorities for that year. You remember that now? I had forgotten it. And so that means if we have money left over, we're not supposed to carry it over. We're supposed to either use it to reduce any amount of indebtedness, say if we had a mortgage to pay it towards the principal. We're supposed to deposit it into an escrow account for the purpose of later reducing any indebtedness. Or we can appropriate it to a specific redevelopment project pursuant to an approved community redevelopment plan, which we have, and that project has to be completed within 3 years from the date of such appropriation. So we have some that's been like that. We've got one appropriation that we're in now into our 2nd year. But we want to, that's one reason that we need to meet more often so that we can keep an idea on our budget. And if we have money that we need to spend, we need to spend it. We don't want to return it back to the county, do we, Mr. Hartman?
Absolutely not.
Okay, and so, and then
We'll never see it.
we might not mind, the commissioners might not mind returning their portion, the portion prorated back to the city, but really, it's that money is set aside there for redevelopment. So, you know, if we have to upgrade the, and it needs it, the water fountain at Veterans Park and get a professional installation there, you know, maybe we can do something like that. I'm just throwing that out there, but I wanted to let everybody know about that provision in the Florida statute, and as a reminder to myself and Corbin. It's hard to remember all this stuff. All right.
Awesome.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to bring forward? Okay then. Shall we entertain a motion to adjourn?
I find that very entertaining.
You'll entertain it then?
Yes.
Okay, then that's by Mr. May.
Very entertaining, and I think I'll go with it.
Do you want to second that?
Yes.
Okay, all
You
right.
betcha.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank y'all for a great meeting. It's a pleasure.